Hello everyone and welcome back to another edition of the Eleusinian Society. I have a very special video for you today. It's kind of off the cuff, which is something that I normally don't do, but I thought it was very important. A podcast that I recently came across, the Theo podcast, not really a guy known for his intellectual skill, but he does have some interesting conversations, and one of the guests that he had on recently was Tucker Carlson. I know he's a very controversial figure to some people. He is a conservative political analyst, but politics really don't matter on my channel. What Tucker Carlson said on the Theo podcast was one of the most beautiful things that I've ever heard, period, on a podcast. And I'm going to give credit where credit is due. This man said so wonderfully and articulately a message that is quite lost in today's world, especially with the younger generations. Kids nowadays, they're growing up with iPads in their hands instead of tools and instead of crafts and musical instruments. And we're really losing the ability to use our God-given talents to show our reverence for God. It is one thing to get on your knees and pray, or to say that you are a part of a religion, but it's another thing to use the talents that has come from the Almighty to express your thanks in them for giving you the gifts that you possess. So, without further ado, I'm going to play the clip, and then we're going to talk afterwards about my thoughts on it.
Intentionally ugly. Box stores are so ugly. You're like, there's got to be a purpose behind, architecture exists for a reason. You're sending a message when you build a building. And the message of box stores and dollar stores and of the DMV is, you mean nothing. We're not going to spend any time or any energy trying to elevate you or please your senses or build anything beautiful. It's ugly on purpose to let you know that you mean nothing. And I just feel like there's something very profound about that, the message that it sends, and everyone receives the message, whether they know it or not. Look at that, okay? The drop ceiling, there's no reason to have lighting like that. It doesn't cost more. Maybe to put some lamps or sconces or something. There's nothing more oppressive than a drop ceiling with fluorescent lighting. And everything is made out of vinyl and metal. There's not one natural material in there. Why not have wooden benches? What would that cost extra? Train stations used to have them. The message there is all this shit's disposable. Everything about that is degrading to the citizen. And it's not an accident. We've been doing that since the day we dropped the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. I think that dropping the atomic bomb on Japan convinced the US government and the Western leaders more broadly that they were God. They had the power to destroy whole cities. And it gave people the impression that they were God. And they lost all humility and all love for their fellow citizens. That's what our architecture, post-war architecture, conveys. I don't love you, I don't care about you. The British colonized whole countries, India, for example. They thought the Indians were lesser than them. They did. They were racist in our current understanding of that word. But they built train stations in, say, Calcutta or Bombay that would blow your freaking mind. There's nothing as beautiful in the United States as the train stations they built in the subcontinent. So, what does that tell you? And these were colonial train stations built for Indian subjects.
Right.
Look at that.
But they still had a lot of pride in what they built.
They did. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Look at that right there.
Wow.
Look at that.
Come on,
That looks like, that's the train station in Bombay, Mumbai, India.
Oh, yeah.
I've been there. What kind of country would build something like that? A country that cared about pleasing people.
Right.
You look at that pleases you. You want to keep staring at it because it's beautiful. We've created nothing of beauty in the United States in 80 years. What the hell? Roy Lichtenstein and Andy Warhol, that's beauty? No, it's not. It's garbage.
Yeah.
You're getting me going, baby. Look at that. Look at that building.
It's stunning.
Imagine building something like that. And instead, we build glass boxes that are LEED certified. And it's like we've built nothing of value, nothing of permanence, nothing we have built in my lifetime will last. And rightly so. There are Roman buildings and arches. Rome
that are going to last longer.
Rome fell in the 5th century, and they're still there.
And that will outlast the construction of half these Petcos or whatever.
It's true. It's totally true. Make something beautiful. That's what we should be telling kids. Your job in life, it's not just working for the man and paying the bills. It's make one thing that's beautiful, that you are proud of, that's an expression of something good inside you. Make it with your hands. Make it. Make something beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't know why that's so. And by the way, when you say something that you think, not others, you think is particularly funny or insightful, you're getting the truth about something, aren't you filled with like this, wow, doesn't that feel like better than anything?
Yeah, I think it feels like what you're supposed to be doing.
Yes, that's it. Exactly. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing, what God made you to do. That's my feeling, but that's not advice that we give at all. It's like how to be an obedient, get some stupid degree at some stupid college to be an obedient employee to some stupid asshole who runs it, who's going to mistreat you.
All right, so the first thing that I want to address about the video is they are absolutely right in saying that there are ways that the government has changed its attitude since World War II. When a lot of people think of, the government oppressing people, they think of, police force, martial law, and putting all these massive taxes on people. But the one thing that we don't really talk about is how we present our own cities. I mean, I grew up in a town, fairly small town, but it had some very beautiful old-style architecture from like the 1920s, that nice Art Deco, stone, marble, and, we're not talking about a big area where that had a lot of money. We're not talking about New York or Chicago. We're talking about a town that is 15 minutes away from a somewhat bigger city. And a lot of that architecture has been lost. I mean, number one, because it costs a lot more in today's world to do these projects. But number two, because we don't have that same reverence for God. When he said that they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki and how that really changed the view of the powers that be, that is 100% accurate. People at that point in time, instead of seeing themselves as below God, humbled underneath God, we now see ourselves at the same level as God because, we can cause all this destruction, we can destroy cities. But is that really what it means to be a part of this grand scheme of things? We are supposed to be underneath God because we are underneath God in a way. We are a part of God, but we are underneath God. And I do find it funny, the segment where they talk about the train station in Mumbai and Calcutta, because you have these wonderful, beautiful structures that are based in European architecture, but do have a flair of that Asiatic architecture as well. And in a time when the British were colonizing India, they still wanted to provide that awe and wonder in their architecture, and I find that really interesting. And then the third thing that I want to mention is, why aren't we teaching our kids, our next generation, our future generations, why are we not teaching our kids the importance of being inspired by God to create something, being inspired by the talents that you have been given naturally or otherwise to create a beautiful work of art? Nowadays, people would rather take an hour of their time editing a TikTok dance video than to work on a piece of art or music or architecture or woodworking piece that takes hours and days and months to create. Instead, we'd rather get that very quick satisfaction, and unfortunately, that is a byproduct of the times. The electronic era where everything is so quick. People would rather spend hours aimlessly scrolling through 15-second clips of videos on TikTok than to watch a 3-hour lecture or documentary about actual things that have happened in history. And it even has transcended into our music as well. Some of the top music artists out there right now are singing about sex and drugs and all these crazy things that, if you went back in a time machine and told, our founding fathers about, they would be like, what? That's what we're creating right now as a country of people that would rather listen to that than, Beethoven and Bach and Mozart and Handel. It's a very sad direction that we're going into, which is why I want to thank all of you for listening to this video if you've made it this far, because these are the topics that we should be talking about. These are the things that we should be teaching our kids, and I'm so glad that you took time out of your day to be a part of this discussion. Leave a comment down below if you have anything to add to this conversation, and as always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos. Thank you.